I'm back with former British Columbia Premier Bill Vander Zalm. We were talking about your opposition to the HST. You have a rally coming up on September 19th.
the 19th, Saturday, September the 19th at noon at Canada Place.
And you've been in politics for a long time. We're going to talk about your book and some of your past in a moment. You were a very strong figure. But you are a bit of a uniter here right now. You have Carol James, the NDP leader, who's joining you on this. There are people from all political persuasions who've come together in opposition to the HST, correct?
Correct, yeah.
How did you come to help organize this rally and really come out on this issue?
Well, it was a beautiful summer day. Most people were on the beach, and the Braidwood Commission was releasing its report on the use of tasers. I'm sitting there watching television, which I don't often do. But anyway, because I'm too busy, I'm watching it with Lillian, and I say, Lillian, look at that, HST. I've heard about HST. Even when I was in politics, they were already talking about HST. I said, there's very little comment about it. They don't realize what the implications of it. The next morning, I look at the newspaper. Again, I see very little mention of it. Nothing on the radio, nothing on television. Again, I say to Lillian, something's wrong here. There's something amiss. Why isn't somebody saying something? She said, why don't you just send a letter to the editor of the newspaper? So I sat by the computer and I typed a letter to all the editors of all the newspapers. The Vancouver province phoned up immediately and said, can you meet us in Richmond? We'll take a picture of you announcing that you're against the HST. Well, they took a picture by a stop sign, very appropriately, put it on the front page of the Vancouver province the following morning. After that, it's history. I was immediately, of course, made the official leader of the anti-HST campaign, which I guess was convenient for the media in the sense that they couldn't tag me with a political party. I don't belong to a political party, so I was sort of the non-partisan leader of the whole thing. After that, the NDP joined in. They became involved as well. The Conservatives joined in. The Refederation Party, all these other political parties, or anyone involved in politics or business or labor that's opposed to the HST sort of came together. And I suppose I helped make it happen.
Well, you've brought all these different groups together, but when you were premier, you were a pretty polarizing figure, weren't you? I mean, would you admit to that?
Polarizing in the sense that there was no question as to where it was I stood on various issues that tended to polarize, but people knew where I was at. We had open government.
Right. Well, you wore your religious beliefs on your sleeve. You were very open about it, and you, in some cases, tried to bring that into government. Looking back on that, are you satisfied with how you handled those issues, or do you have concerns about mixing religion and politics the way you did?
I never mixed religion and politics. No, I certainly wasn't afraid to say where it was I stood. They knew that I was Christian, and so I think we all should, if we're Christian, not be afraid to say we're Christian. So I wore that quite openly, you're right, but I never brought it into politics. However, I do believe that politics, on the other hand, and governments and politicians have interfered or tried to influence religion. There's things that we might have done 25, 30 years ago, and they were quite acceptable then, that all of a sudden today, if you protest abortion, then obviously there's places you can't do this in because the government says you can't. Right. You can't go there and protest it. So it's not religion influencing politics, it's politics trying to influence religion. And politics is where the power is today. Religion, unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, is waning. And we're losing a certain value system because of it.
Do you feel like faith is being pushed out of the mainstream by politics?
25 years ago, if you were a religious church-going individual, that helped you in your political campaign. That made you a better candidate. Today, if you're church-going or a religious person, probably you don't qualify as a candidate for a political party because they're afraid you may say something of value.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago when there was prayer in school in Canada.
That's right.
Is that something you would want to see brought back?
You know, I can recall going to school and coming in the morning and we'd sing O Canada and then we'd say the Our Father, which I think is a prayer that probably applies regardless of what your religion. You could be Sikh, Muslim, or it doesn't matter which, and accept the Our Father. So we used to sing O Canada and say the Our Father. I think it made us proud of our school. It made us a proud community. And unfortunately, that's all gone. And I maintain that's why we have so many problems, not only in our schools, but in our communities or in society in general.
But we're taping this in Vancouver, very multicultural city. I mean, you have people from, you have Sikhs, you have Muslims, you have Hindus, you have Jews, you have people from all different, religious backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds. Do you see why perhaps some of those folks might feel uncomfortable doing a Christian prayer in school if it's not their background?
No, I suppose if I went to China, to India, to Vietnam, or it doesn't matter which country,
you do a prayer from
they
their
would have
culture.
their prayers for whatever is in their culture. We're trying to accommodate all people, and in the process, losing everything.
Well, Canada has gotten a reputation, certainly in comparison to the United States, as being much more liberal when it comes to homosexuality, when it comes to some extent, abortion. Is that an area, particularly homosexuality, where gay marriage is becoming accepted? I assume that's an area that you're concerned about, right?
Concerned in the sense that I don't have anything against or hold anything against the gay community. If that's where they're at, I don't have a problem with that, but don't try to impose it on me or influence where it is I am or what it is I do with your ideas particularly. No, I have some difficulty with that.
Well, you've written a book that has come out recently, last year, correct?
A rather controversial book as well. It goes through the whole of the history of where Bill Vander Zalm was from the day, I guess, he started in the Netherlands to almost where it is I'm at today. So it covers a lot of politics. It's philosophical. It's a bit political. It's a biography. It's all of those things.
I mean, writing a book like that, you must have been, to some extent, a cathartic experience. You're reminiscing about everything you've been through. Any regrets? I mean, Fantasy Garden, I mean, what, as you think back on your political career, what would you have done differently?
Oh, in hindsight,
we have 1 minute left.
2020. No, I can't. There's things that I would obviously do differently knowing what I know today. Mm-hmm. But based upon what it was I knew then and the circumstances as they were at the time, I'd probably do the same thing all over again.
Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure, Peter.
You can visit Bill Vander Zalm's website, billvanderzalm.com. Coming up next, the man who's bringing the Dalai Lama and 5 other Nobel laureates to Vancouver.